Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Got 9 games in the NBA here on Wednesday, so pretty full slate. I've got about 6 or 7 leans and early looks for you guys here that I don't yet have on the card, but definitely want to make sure we get some of that research done a little bit early in the day as we still wait on a lot of this roster news with a lot of games going on today. So we are going to be waiting on that and then going over it on the live show at 5:30 p.m. Eastern when we finalize that card for sure. Definitely make sure to go ahead and subscribe to that page so you don't miss any of the stuff we're bringing you. If that all sounds good, give this video a like. Let's get right into it. Slow day on Tuesday, 500 on the record, minus 0.2 units, so really just lost the VIG there. Negligible loss, 45.8 units still up on the season. And a quick run through of these bets. Evan Mobley came through with a last-second rebound on a garbage play final shot from the Nets that really got us lucky there. Honestly, he had like 16 rebound chances, so the fact that we got the 9, not really lucky, but I feel like he should have had a better game. Still happy with the look there. 9 boards, we'll take the win. And then Cade Cunningham, really easy look there. 13 RA at the half against the Wizards. Really weird line for him at 14.5. Kind of seemed like maybe they were just pricing it in, taking into account the blowout, and that's why his number was so low. But really, like if he played 30 minutes, which he got 30 last night, the 15 rebounds and assists against the Wizards was a great projection. So love that bet there. CJ McCollum, I kept trying to go back to it, and it worked out like 6 of the last 8 games that I bet under on CJ PRA, and he had a really good game yesterday. Ended up getting a bunch of points there at the end of the second quarter that kind of did us in by the half. So not necessarily like a system play that we can just keep going back to, but in the right spot. CJ is getting a lot less usage down the stretch here because this season is over for the Pelicans. And, he's a veteran at this point. So it's still going to be a look that I'll go back to as an under for a guy that I don't think is going to have high usage in meaningless games for the Pelicans. Then you look at Max Strus. Every time I bet on this dude, he goes 2 for 11 or whatever. It's what he was, 2 for 11 from the field. Still had he had like 5 boards. I think he ended with 10 points because of the free throws at the end or whatever it was. It was like 15 PR. So we needed 2 more on an awful game, which makes me just go, yeah, it's a good look. It's a good look to take Max Strus at 16.5 or PR without Donovan Mitchell. This is a dude who's going to continue to rebound a ton without Mitchell in these situations where they should be blowing out a team, but also as a spot-up shooter against the Nets, he just brick city on Tuesday there. So not much you can do about that, but I'm not going to really regret that bet at all. Pretty happy here to be up 45.8 units on the season. So we're going to keep it going. And like I said, what I've got for you on the show is not on my card just yet. So I don't have these bets down. I like to wait for that injury news to come out. I like to know who's playing, especially at this point in the season. So a lot of these bets that come out on the VIP come out about 1:30, 2:30 p.m. on the West Coast, 4:30, 5:30 here on the East Coast. And that's when we're going to have this live show. So hope to see y'all in there at 5:30 p.m. Eastern today. But let's get into what I've got here for Wednesday's slate. As always, going to be using Props Madness here, the #1 sports betting research tool around. This is what I'm using every day. It's the one-stop shop to make sure that you're getting all angles covered here as you're looking through the NBA. If you do want to use this platform and try it out for 7 days before you purchase anything, you can use code LYB, get yourself that little trial, and then you can also use that to get 25% off on your first month here using a code LYB for this Props Madness stuff. Let's just go down the line here, kicking it off with Thunder and Celtics, and we've got a bunch of questionables, so we still got to wait on seeing about a couple guys here. Tatum is questionable. Kristaps is questionable, which is better than doubtful, which he's been at, but we can't really make any bets on this game without knowing who's playing for this team. And then on the other side of the ball, Jalen Williams, J-Dub, the shorter Jalen Williams, is going to be out for this game as well. So we'll see about the Thunder, but have to know about Kristaps and Tatum. And then we can come down here to 76ers and Raptors, and I think we can get a look in this game, but we should at least go over the fact that we've got Scotty Barnes questionable in this one, IQ out, Grady Dick out, RJ Barrett out, Ochai Agbaji is going to be out, and then obviously Kelly Olynyk not on the team, and Jacoby Walter also out. So this team is reeling. Jonathan Mogbo out. Jamison Battle questionable to play. Jamison Battle is a backup's backup, and we still are actually waiting on news if he's going to play, and most importantly, Scotty Barnes. But on the other side of the floor, the only guy that's really two guys that are questionable, Andre Drummond and Kelly Oubre. So we're waiting on their news. But man, we gotta talk about Quentin Grimes at this point. Like if you look at Quentin Grimes on this team with as of late here, let's go to the last 7 games and let's do them all games without Joel, games without Tyrese Maxey since he's come to the 76ers, right? So if we look at this, he's played, I believe it's 6 games now. No, it's 5 games that he's played without Maxey or Embiid since coming to this team, averaging 35.2 PRA in this time frame. His usage is through the roof, meaning he's taking a ton of shots, about 17 per game. Plus, he's got the ball in his hands a ton. So if you look at the usage percentage here, you can see over the course of this last 5 games, up to 26% usage rate on the season. And usage rate is how much do you have the ball in your hands, how many shots are you taking, whether it's from the free throw line or from the field, and the assists as well. And his usage is through the roof because the touches are high and the shots are high. The PRA here at 35.2 per game for him, 28.5 against a Raptors team that has been a pretty good defense. But I mean, this is going to be just a poo-poo game between poo-poo teams that are not trying at all. We're going to have barely any Raptors out there. And Quentin Grimes has shown that down the stretch, it's just his world. Like, he took 8 shots in the fourth quarter of this last game, ended up with 25 overall. And the shots alone and the points alone are good enough for me to feel like he could get up to 24, 25 points just on the usage that he's got going alone here. So really going to feel good about Quentin Grimes in this game. At least have to go back to the only dude who's putting up consistent numbers and shots and attempts at all for this Philadelphia 76ers team. Got to skip right past this Hornets and Hawks game as well, as Trae Young is questionable. And we're also looking at Caris LeVert questionable for both these teams. So you can see Trae is a game time decision. DeAndre Hunter is also listed as questionable, and so is Caris LeVert. I think we're going to see DeAndre Hunter, but Caris LeVert and Trae Young, I genuinely don't know if we're going to see them. Trae missed this last game against a bad team as well, right? I forget who they just played, but he sat in that one as Keaton Wallace handled the point guard duties there. But going to skip past this one. Looking at Rockets and Suns, I think we can at least talk about this one for a minute and potentially get a bet down here in just a little bit. But what I'm looking at is Brad Beal in this game. I think we're getting pretty good value on Beal stuff here. 15.5 points, because the reason you're going to see this number low, like you look at him, 17.5 points on the season over the course of these last 10 games or so. Let's do 15 games. He's looking at about 18.4 points per game. He's been very hot shooting the ball as well during this time, playing a solid 32, 33 minutes per game. So he's back and healthy, and in that starting lineup, playing alongside Booker and KD. Now, the matchup stuff here, you don't want to take spot up shooters against the Thunder and mostly the Rockets here. They're second best limiting spot up points, second worst limiting pick and roll ball handler. So if you're on ball, you're a lot more likely to score against the Rockets because they don't double team. So they leave their guys one-on-one, and Brad Beal is going to have the best one-on-one matchup. That's why you look at this stuff. The way I have these matchups is Beal on FVV because Fred VanVleet is back. So those two guard each other. That's a plus matchup for Beal. I mean, at least on offense, because Fred is not a good defender, much smaller than Beal. But there's no one else for him to guard because Jalen Green has to guard Booker so that Brooks can guard Durant. And then you're going to have Bol and Jabari Smith, and then Richards and Şengün, right? But the key here is the guards. Booker and Green, two better defenders than at least Fred VanVleet is, right? And so Fred on Brad Beal, you really like Brad Beal's one-on-one opportunities here. Now, the thing is, I don't like him on the assists. So I think this is a money play, is like a 15-plus point for Brad Beal combined and parlayed with under 5 assists for him. You're going to get some really good money. That's what we call a negatively correlated bet. If you take an over for his points, but an under for his assists, you're going to get better odds back on that parlay because those two things are negatively correlated. If he's got the ball in his hands to score, he's just almost as likely anyway, according to the numbers, to pass it, right, and get an assist. So that's why it's a negative correlation. But I love the under on the dimes here, and I love an over on the points, which are very, very low for a guy in not a bad matchup for spot up shooters. But I don't think he's going to be spotting up quite as much as we might think. I think Booker is going to be giving him the ball earlier in the possession and being like, look, we've got Brooks on KD, we've got Green on Booker. This is a better matchup for Brad Beal than anybody. Let's go hunt Fred VanVleet and get Brad Beal those points. Looking at this Jazz and Grizzlies game, go ahead and give that video a like if you have not yet done so. It goes a very long way to help out the channel. So hopefully this free content is helping you out, and then you can support us with just a simple like on the video. Also very interested to know who you guys are betting on. If you want to jump in those comments and let me know. And then obviously if we want to go over anything on the live show, great to jump in the comments early and let me know what you guys are thinking about for today. But looking at this Jazz and Grizzlies game, we do have a couple guys still questionable, and both of them missed last game for the Grizzlies. Jaren Jackson Jr. is out. Santi Aldama is already out. Two of their bigs. And then the other two bigs on their team, Zach Edey and Brandon Clark, are both questionable, and both of them missed last game. So we're going to see if they're able to get back into this one. But I think we can kind of take a flyer here on Ja Morant assists as is. So here's what I'm looking at. Look at Ja in these last bunch of games. 34 minutes, 37 minutes, and 35 minutes. I don't believe he's played that many minutes in any other game. How many times has he played 35 plus this season? I'm taking my minutes filter, and you can see he's only even played 35 or more in 5 games. 3 of those just came in the last week. And then the other one was about a couple weeks ago in February here at the very end on the 25th. So all these big minute games for Ja are coming in the last couple weeks, right? The first one, January, then we get into February, didn't even play 35 minutes anytime before that in the season. So he's getting ramped up for the playoffs. This is Memphis starting to take stuff seriously and realizing that they need to win down the stretch to keep themselves in the playoffs and to make sure they get a decent enough seed, right? So what they're going to be looking at here is an easy game against the Jazz. Ja Morant is going to get what he wants if he's playing those amount of minutes. Gotta love the assists against the Utah Jazz, who, if we hover over them, they are the second worst defense limiting assists, and they are the worst defense in the league giving up assists to guards. They give up everything to guards. And that's why Ja's points are high at this point. It's like 26 and a half. Really not scared of the points because you also look at transition stuff here. If you look at the points for Ja and you scroll down, you can see in the games he's played big minutes, averaging 27 points per game, which is right, just over this 26 and a half. Might be able to get this at 25 and a half on the points too. But the key here is you look at the transition, the worst transition defense in the league versus the number one transition player in terms of the dude who just wants to get it and go. And that's Ja Morant, as this Memphis team is in transition the most in the league for a reason. They play at the fastest pace, and Ja is the starter pistol for all of this stuff, right? So I might even be looking at the points and assists. I just know that Ja is definitely somebody that I'm eyeing on an over here. And we could even get a little crazy here with like a double-double, right? If you think he's good for 10 dimes, anything like that. But we're going to be looking at assists as the primary play. And then if this points drops down a little bit to 25 and a half, going to look at adding that to the bet as well. We'll definitely be talking about Ja on the live show today. Couple more looks here in this Clippers and Heat game. And first I'm going to Bam. I think we got to look at Bam dimes, right? This is not a good matchup for centers. I will say the Clippers are top 5 limiting points, limiting rebounds to centers, and they're about 15th limiting assists to centers. So they're actually much worse limiting assists than they are points and rebounds to Bam's position. Liking the assists here. You can still get a minus 125. I would still take this at minus 130 for Bam. You can see he's been diming up a bunch more lately, and the potentials are what's getting a lot higher for him, plus the passes made. So in 38 minutes against the Hornets, 10 potentials to get 8. Don't have a potentials against the Bulls, but this was like a fast-paced game that the Heat actually ended up losing. They played horribly that game. In this game, he ended up with 4 assists on 10 potentials against the Timberwolves, and this is a much more similar defense to the Clippers than any of the other defenses he's played recently, except for maybe the Cavs, right? But everybody else, bad defense in general. Wizards, Knicks, Pacers, and this Clippers team, as good as they are on defense, you can get assists against them, as they're a bit worse against spot-up shooting than they are, say, like on the ball, right? This is third best limiting pick and roll, man. 14th versus the spot-up, as opposed to like 4th, 5th best limiting points to the pick and roll ball handler. So they're a very good pick and roll defense. But Bam, when he's got the ball in his hands, not in the pick and roll, is playing off the high post and has options all around him because he's going to get smothered down low. Because this Clippers team definitely defends those centers really well. You're going to see Bam living in this area right above the foul line, and that's where he's going to have options to either drive on Zubac to try to kick, or drive and then drop down on the dunker spot here to a guy like Andrew Wiggins, who's going to be cutting into the basket. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for Bam to get these dimes tonight. Looking at him at over 3.5 is the play here. All right, that's all we have for today in these early looks, but we are going to be back with the live show, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. So you guys bring your bets, jump in the comments. I'll be sharing my screen once again with using Props Madness, and we'll go over all that stuff together. Hopefully find some stuff at about the 5:30 p.m. Eastern time so we can get those injury reports going and get some of the value that we can find here. So hope to see y'all there. And until I do, happy betting.